Section 3 of Letters from the Relentless Pursuit. This section is called The Relentless Pursuit. This one was started sometime between 2012 or 2013, I think. It might even have been started before that, I'm not quite sure. But it was finished in the fall of 2014. Out here, the relentless pursuit ain't pretty. It tastes like failure. It smells like regret. It feels like a broken heart that has been trampled by a convoy of lost dreams. It isn't understood that you sacrifice all regard for your health and well-being as an even trade for the thrill that is. All we are promised is destitution, poverty, a broken home, a lonely heart, and an early grave. Always tired, dirty, sick, hungry, and broke. This all paired with the crushing exhaustion caused by the uncertainty of being constantly transient and displaced. So this begs the question, why in the fuck do we do this? And a better question, what are we pursuing? Is it our narrow and twisted notion of what we define as independence? Is it our version of what the American dream should be? Is this our reaction to a lifetime of loss, wreckage, and regret? We sacrifice all Western cultural comforts and all chances at a normal life for what? An empty wallet and an empty stomach? Estranged relationships with the women in our hearts? Dirty clothes and dirty memories of an over-romanticized past filled with heartbreak and ruin? Why is it that some of us were born with a restless spirit and a soul that is only at ease in the midst of uncertainty and chaos? Why is it that with some of us, the narrowly defined concept of normalcy terrifies us and in fact causes us to go further to the edge of oblivion? One ambiguous paradigm sums up why we're out here. The idea of freedom. Eating, drinking, fucking, living. No need for sleep. No fear to love and live and die and lust and hurt. Feeling the need to drive for hours and hours down a lost highway across miles of vacant skies and empty skylines. Pursuing nothing but hope and faith. No regard for your health or well-being, because in the end, what does it matter anyway? We're going to die broke and alone, so why worry so much about the end that we become too afraid to live? We're out here in the relentless pursuit, not because we want to be, but because we know no other way. This life chose us. We are misfits, strangers amongst our blood relatives, destined to always be dead fucking last. We're out here because there is nowhere else for us, and because we are the last pioneers, the last to carry on some sort of maverick tradition, fighting a battle that we know we can't win just for the sake of the fight, existing in a struggle that has caused us to live like pirates and has kept us to live like outsiders. And don't think that we don't love it. Those of us who have earned it rub it in the face of all those who resent it. With the price you pay, you earn a swagger. Living is being fully engaged in every conscious second and thinking as little as possible about the future. Being alive is not worried about the repercussions and risks of you take. No regard for a meaningless and empty future that holds nothing but loss, regret, and the recurring haunting question of what if. Beyond the pole that I've always felt to be on the road, the following may further explain why I have the value set I have in regards to the pursuit. Recently, I had the tragic experience of watching my mom, at the relatively young age of 61, die a heart-wrenching death. She was a woman who sacrificed so much for the loved ones around her, ultimately hoping one day that she would get a chance to experience life without financial woes. My mom was set to inherit land and property upon the death of my grandma and grandpa. She was set to split the estate with my aunt, her only other sibling. Upon my grandpa's death, the estate was valued at about $1 million altogether. However, that was several years ago. After my grandpa's death, my grandma was struck with the awful disease that is dementia. This is a cruel affliction that robs those cursed with it of their mental capacities. Those afflicted forget. They hallucinate. They are confused and they become aggressive and combative. It is a horrible, unfair sickness that robs the victims of their freedom and dignity. In 2009, Grandma's condition worsened. This once very sharp, cognizant woman would become disoriented and confused. It got worse at night when the sun went down. Mom and Dad, they worked tirelessly to keep her in her home. Unfortunately, the love and vigilance they showed was no match for this rotten goddamn affliction. I remember one time going straight to the hospital after one of Grandma's falls. She was bleeding everywhere. She was almost unrecognizable. It looked like her nose was pretty much completely torn off her face. This would be the last time of my grandma falling and hurting herself at home. Mom and Dad were forced to finally put her in an assisted living facility, which, by the way, was a really nice place. It had free ice cream, some good looking nurses. Pretty awesome, really. And although the care was impeccable, the monthly bill for the place ran over $8,000. Now, my grandma had been there 6 years at the time of my mom's death. Those 6 years had drained a considerable amount of money out of the estate. Now, looking back, my mom told me a story a couple times growing up that I find bitterly ironic. A neighbor who lived in the area between Raymond and Malcolm knew how much property my grandpa owned and how much it was worth. I guess this man told my mom a few times, "Joni, you're going to be a rich girl one day." Now, considering my family lived financially humble and pretty close to poor quite often, this was probably a novel concept to her. Well, that day never came. Furthermore, if my mom was still alive, the money left in the estate would be a fraction of what it once was. In addition to that, my mom lived with terrible guilt about the fact that my grandma needed out-of-home care. This portion of the story didn't end too happy. Now, I've learned over the years that you can plan the outcomes of what you want. You can wish and hope your whole life away. You can fret and worry and stress. And for what? Basically, you end up just waiting around to die. I see so many friends and loved ones plan for an unknown future just for the sake of peace of mind. Unfortunately, they end up squandering their whole lives away. The cold hard fact that if you do make it to retirement age in America, you will be living in a country where you won't have Social Security. Some seek solace in having a 401k or some other private retirement plan. However, will it be all it's supposed to be when that time comes? No. I can answer that right now. People work a job they don't like just so they can make it to that retirement age. That day may never come. And if it does, you'll be so beaten down by a lifetime of their bullshit you won't be able to enjoy the little time that you have left. In our country, they feed us garbage food, force us to live in a polluted environment, and create a hyper-stressed lifestyle. Ours is an existence that's marked by strange relationships with friends, distance with family, crushing debt and bills we will never be able to pay, lack of meaningful sense of community, continually declining health, and diminished mental well-being. Considering all these factors, we are assured not to make it to that proverbial golden age. I was on tour with a young band from out west one summer. This was their first national run, and I know that they're not stupid, I hope I didn't come off sounding like their daddy, but I repeatedly beat the fact into them that us being on the road was us doing our part to preserve freedom. Part of the task at hand is no matter how tired, hungry, dirty, dejected, and broke that we are, we need to move forward. This is our last chance of freedom. The only way to preserve true independence from living in the trap of traditional Western culture is to show resolve and a set of values. And those values are that art is more important than financial success. Your legacy is not your bank account. Climbing the ladder and kissing ass will only make you miserable, self-loathing, and empty inside. Family is not synonymous with a home. And just because someone shares your blood, that does not make them family. As artists, we are supposed to be ambassadors. Our purpose is to set an example of hope through our craft and our lack of conformity. Our struggle as a group of new pioneers is out of necessity. Always searching for more. The whole time engaged in the relentless pursuit of all that could have been. All that we know that is not. All that should be that never will be. All that we know that isn't. It is such a crock of shit, the nonsense we feed our youth. Follow your dreams. You can be anything you want to be. The sky is the limit. Be all you can be. These hallmark catchphrases and overly pieces of sentimental propaganda are all fucking lies. The fact is, most people don't want to see our young idealists succeed. Most adults are so bitter about their wasted life that they ridicule the dreamers. The followers cynically dismiss the beautiful power and wonderment of the individualist. I think about the knuckle-dragging mouth breathers I used to work with at the Lincoln Parks and Recreation Department as a kid. I remember all the brain-dead cocksuckers I was co-employed with at the Nebraska State Penitentiary. I think back and remember walking into the UPS plant to unload semis at 3 a.m. I grit my teeth thinking about packing books for all the rich kids at the University of Nebraska when I was employed part-time at the UNL bookstore. One common thread that I've seen in all the shitty jobs I've worked and all the irrelevant people I've encountered in the vast abyss that is the working world is a crushing, toxic pessimism. Their fragile souls were long ago crushed by the looming black cloud that is adulthood. The result is that, generally speaking, American society wants us to think big and dream big until we hit age 18. At that point, we are supposed to go to work, pay our taxes, never question their authority, say our prayers, buy their shit, procreate, marry, and die a quiet death in suburban hell out in nowhere, USA. Now, maybe I'm overly idealistic, but I firmly believe that this country needs us out here. We are the ones who will make them see color, feel the pain, drink the venom, do the drug, breathe in the beautiful smell of dirty sex and sin, and use whatever heart they have left. The taste of blood will let you know you're alive. I sit here sick from this life, broke from the journey, constantly wondering where any resources will come from. Their definition of the dream ended for me a long time ago. A house, a wife, a professional career. Never, not in this life, will I have the steadiness and routine that these social contracts provide. I discovered long ago that the commonly accepted laws and social norms weren't meant to live by. They were meant to control those of us at a financial and or social disadvantage. And the only way to revolt is to disengage and to refuse to follow their commands. Some of us are already engaged in the chase. For those of us relentlessly pursuing something that we can't even grasp, we need to never give an inch. Once you conform, you start to make your own prison. Even if you never understand the exact purpose, never cease to continue. Now, although it has been played out, the quote by Bukowski says it best. Find what you love and let it kill you. So, with that sentiment in mind, go out and find it. If it's not this, find something else. You don't like who you're married to? Get a fucking divorce. You don't like your job? Then quit. You don't like where you live? Then move. If you've been waiting around to die, it's time for you to stop waiting and start doing. I think the one character in Stephen King's Shawshank Redemption says it best. I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living or get busy dying.